You go to sleep in your cozy suburban home and wake up the next day with dinosaurs all over the place. What a revolting development. Well, this is a situation that's facing Glenn and Denise Platt and their family in Ordinary Town, USA, as they wonder what happened? Where did the dinosaurs come from? What happened to the dog? Will Denise's book ever get written? Today we're going to be looking at that film, The End of Oak Street, which is written and directed by David Robert Mitchell. Will we be looking at and doing one review? No, we're going to do 3 reviews. The first review will be for the average viewer. Will you like this film? The next will be for those who like this sort of thing, and I'm talking about horror films with a science fiction chaser. And then third, we're going to be looking at the big idea. What is the big idea that holds this film together? We'll do that today on Bounds of Cinema. The plot of The End of Oak Street. It's 1982. We're in an ordinary suburban town in the U.S. The Platt family is made up of Mom, Denise, who is a budding writer and played by Anne Hathaway. The father, Glenn, he works downtown, but he also makes a little money on the side delivering pizzas. He is played by Ewan McGregor. They have a son, Brian, that has issues with bullies, and a daughter, Audrey, who has a growing identity crisis. Over several nights, there are weird lights and shaking and noise. And then one morning when they wake up, they find their suburban community has been sliced out of the earth and plopped into the past at a time of dinosaurs. And there are dinosaurs roaming the streets and flying in the sky and eating their neighbors. And their dog Starbuck is missing. And this seems to worry them even as much as everything else. At first they hide. They try to protect themselves. They stay in the house in fear. But then they start fighting, and then they start working to try to find a way to get out of this situation. For the general audience, this film is a lot of what my old mentor used to call running, jumping, standing still. Lots of action, minimal character development, and that's one of the main problems that I have with this film. It doesn't seem to know what it wants to be. At first, it's a family adventure film. This family has some struggles as the mom is dissatisfied with the dad and is wanting to and writes a book about running away to New York. Then it's a horror film with a lot of gruesome deaths, gruesome on-screen deaths of people at the hands of and the beaks of rampaging dinosaurs. And then it's a comedy. You have little light moments where they're trying to be funny and trying to go for a sight gag here or there. And then they even try to put in a little depth by exploring one character's sexuality. And then the father brings up God, and he's quickly shouted down and ridiculed. And as the mom takes over and does the girl boss thing in saving the family. Things are thrown out, hoping something sticks to the wall. It's very uneven, so I really can't recommend this to the average audience unless you don't mind weak characters and really kind of like watching people getting chased around by critters and don't mind a very weak ending that's tacked on. For those who are into this sort of thing. And I'm talking about horror movies with a little sci-fi. There's some scares, lots of monsters doing jump scares, and creeping up creatures, tension, suspense. That's good stuff. But as I said, it's very uneven. Sometimes it's a family adventure, sometimes it's a horror, sometimes science fiction, sometimes light comedy. One time they broach the subject of God, as I mentioned, but it's quickly ridiculed before it's dismissed. I thought the issue of faith might be kind of interesting. Faith and science and the predicament that they're in be raised and dealt with and maybe explored with a little depth. No such luck. There's a moment where the film does get serious. It's a very tragic moment toward the end where one of the members of the family is killed by a dinosaur, and that is really a sad moment, but it's great. I thought it was good. This raised the stakes. This gave us something that I had really hopes for. That now really things have gotten serious. They're not just observers here. They've got skin in the game, so to speak. Then the person, through some time travel sci-fi gimmick, is returned to the family. Some might feel like it was a happy moment. I felt cheated. It was too easy. Also, the implications of where the family member came from and what that does to that timeline and that does to that situation of that family member, of that member's family, that's not addressed. It's just kind of left there. So, for those who really get into sci-fi, into horror, that's going to kind of jump up at you. You'll be wondering, whoa, wait a minute, what about that? That's not so happy. Ultimately, I can't recommend this movie to people who are horror film fans. You'll be disappointed. It's got some thrills and scares and stuff, but they're not enough of them to keep you going. You'll like the chaos of the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs are kind of fun, but you won't like the resolution. I think it's just too easy. The big idea in this film is tied up in the question, what if? What if a chunk of your world, your suburb, your urban apartment, wherever you are, is sliced out of the earth and plopped back into prehistoric time? What if you and your family were on the brink of a lot of stress, like a divorce or something that's going to tear the family apart, and then something from the outside comes in? Would you pull together or would you further fracture? These are things to think about. It's raised in this film as family is dealing with their own stresses in the family that are threatening to tear the family apart. But then outside, chaos of the dinosaurs and all of this threatens them. Do they pull together or do they fracture apart? We see what happens in the film. And this is what you'll probably talk about after the film. How would your family react? How would you react? Interesting. A recap. I really cannot recommend this film for the average audience or the audience that's into this sort of thing, the horror, sci-fi. It's sad. It had a lot of potential, but it just doesn't hold together. If you really want to look at an interesting take on the idea of slicing out a piece of a suburb and transporting it to another place for study, you might check out an old Outer Limits episode from the 1960s. It's a television series. The episode is called A Feasibility Study. It's better done, and it is more philosophically satisfying. No dinosaurs, though. Just a warning. Thank you for being with me so far. Please like, share, subscribe so that we can get this video and my channel out to other film fans who might be interested in my way of doing movie reviews. And if you're subscribed, you'll get a notice of the next time I drop a film review right here on Bounds of Cinema.